Hello, my loves. I thought I would just pop in and talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde with you. So, one of the things about Mercury retrograde is I kind of feel like someone who has been a kind of pioneer in sharing this other message of what it's really all about. And not only that, but all of astrology. It's a reason why I say I was Galileo, because I have this different kind of take on astrology. But then again, I talk directly to the planets, so whatever I'm hearing, I feel like is the way to go. So, but anyway, with Mercury retrograde is the best time ever. And it's really important that you start reprogramming now so that you can actually take advantage of what Mercury retrograde is about. Because ultimately, the messages of what Mercury retrograde is about have been spread in the wrong ways, but it's also giving the example of how easily it is to program us and to spread misinformation and for us to just take it and run with it. So it also gives that example. But one of the things with Mercury, it's kind of like this really playful energy, but one that's more that's going to be a trickster too. But the thing is what I realized years ago was that whatever I felt about Mercury was what Mercury gave me. So right there, you just got the secret, because whatever you're feeding Mercury, however you treat this friend of yours, is how they are going to treat you. So if you think negatively about them, which has been so programmed for you to how you've been programmed to handle Mercury that way when it goes into retrograde, to think of it as this negative thing. Oh, I hate Mercury retrograde. Oh no. And I'm over here telling you that every year I plan for Mercury retrograde. I get stoked beyond belief. I go, oh good, we're getting another Mercury retrograde session. Thank goodness. And I say that because I know that it holds all the answers. This one primarily, in addition, like magnified, being in Scorpio, it really, really holds all the answers. But basically, once you understand that what you put into Mercury is what you're going to get, you can really start tuning into this new flow of how Mercury retrograde will treat you, and how you're going to see that now it's kind of awesome, and it'll be a time when things come together, when things return to now make sense, when a better way can be made known, when ideas will come where you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not even think about that? So it's always going to have this element of time playing out, and how thank goodness you went through all this time to see it kind of from this other angle. There are some rules that I would like to go over with Mercury retrograde. There are ways that you have to handle it. It is definitely 100% true that you are not to make any really big purchases right now. It's always going to be a risky thing, but as long as you have thought about them before and have been working on them longer, have been working on them, have been working on them for a while. If that's the case, then a lot of times the answers will come during Mercury retrograde, and this is exactly what you need to do, and this is exactly the thing. So a lot of times it'll bring answers like that. But if you are deciding to make a new move during Mercury retrograde and you make the move during it, it most likely will not be what you expect. If you all of a sudden decide to get this computer, even though you didn't have a broken one, you were just like, I'm going to get it. I know that I want a touch screen and I want it like this. You're most likely, like 99% of the time, not going to be happy with what you purchased. That's a definite one with Mercury retrograde. But if we're talking about things that you've been working on for a while, if we're talking about things that you've been, I don't know what to do about that, I don't know what to do about that, I don't know what to do about that, it is when Mercury goes retrograde that the answer will come to you. And a lot of times through detours, because you have to remember this person's a trickster too. Mercury's, it's this younger, childish, teenager energy is what I get with it. And it's very much like, well, if you're going to be my friend, I'm going to treat you great. And if you're going to not be my friend, then I'm going to give you reasons to, to hate me even more, is kind of what it's about. But if you can just remember that we're ultimately working behind getting to the root of how you're being programmed or conditioned to be this certain way that maybe isn't like the best thing for you. And so much of our life, and especially it's so rapid right now for us, we're seeing how we made the most insane decisions months ago that now we're like, oh my gosh, how did I do that? How did I not see through that? How did I not value myself enough to say no to that? And it's for this reason of getting us to see how much of what we were doing was just what we were programmed to do, and we're just kind of playing nice really in life. And well, they said it was this, same as Mercury retrograde. They said it was negative, so I'm hating on it. And now all these crappy things are happening to me. I hate Mercury retrograde. But life is that same way. And whatever we're being fed is what we're now giving more to. And it's time that we really look around and see if we're feeding things in the correct way. The majority of astrology is to be rewritten. It's not what it was and what you're reading about, and it's just being spread and spread and spread. And that's why it's really important to like research things, astrology especially, like through walking it and journeying through it, before just taking everything and being like, oh, this is the truth. Another great example is what we see in America, in North America, with this election, and how so many people are conditioned to believe in these other ways where you're like, how on earth could you even believe that? But it's being packaged and presented in a way that they absolutely can rationalize it and they can believe it. So it's times like now where we're getting a lot of insights into things that we were not believing and that were actually taking us over a cliff. But so much of it too is related to our value system. So it's about how much we've taken on because we didn't value ourselves, didn't value our voice, didn't value our opinions, and saying, hey, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this. I don't want to follow along with that. So much of this energy too is showing where other people have manipulated you and dominated you to the point that you do follow along in these sleepwalker ways and making these decisions that are based on you being manipulated to walk yourself over a cliff, you know, and not really listen to your own self and to access your true essence and to pull those feelings that you're having, to like pull them out of your throat where you're like, I don't like this, or I don't really approve of this, or I believe there's another way. So Mercury retrograde is correcting a lot of this for us right now. And this one, I believe, is one of the things too that you need to know about Mercury retrograde is when you start loving this one, you'll be loved real quickly. And then it just builds and builds and builds. And most people who've been following me for years are all like, I love Mercury retrograde. And we're all talking about how it just builds and they get better and they get better. And you start planning around them, and you work with what happens and what falls apart and what takes you on these detours, because it's always going to be about detours. But once you come from this other perspective, it's not the worst thing in the world. And then you open to all this insight, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I couldn't have thought of this before. So right now, a lot of people, especially, it's actually because of Vesta. Vesta is coming in and speaking up too now, but Vesta is what's really pulling this Mercury retrograde to be so fantastic. So do realize that we can pull so much into order now. We can pull so many answers from the depth that help us really create new patterns in our lives and new ways of being, to the point that a lot of things change. And not just little things change, but where there's a trickling effect to where we're just kind of leading more upstanding lives, coming from these positions of holding more value with ourselves and recognizing we can use our voice, we can say no, we can say yes, we can give ourselves permissions to be these other beings that are not necessarily what we've been programmed to be. Okay, I'm going to stop because I have to keep it at 10 minutes for Instagram. But anyway, I'm going to be coming back with the full moon video. We're probably going to hang out for like 30 minutes, and we'll be going more into all of this. I also have the written readings coming. Those I'm going to be sharing tomorrow, and I'll let you know something that I'm changing with those. But written readings are coming too. So this is just a little bit for now. We're going to be talking again in a bit. Okay, I've got to go though. I love you. It's been fun. Okay, bye.